This is CRM Audio, the Microsoft Business Applications podcast with Business Applications MVPs Joel Lindstrom and George Dubinsky. This episode is brought to you by Maplytics by Inogic. Maplytics by Inogic is a market-leading certified for Microsoft Dynamics 365 geoanalytical mapping app. Maplytics empowers users with powerful map visualization and routing capabilities within Dynamics CRM to drive better sales, improve business processes, and engage the right customers at the right time. Maplytics now works with Dynamics 365 version 9 and the Dynamics 365 app for mobile and tablet. Inogic is a leading Microsoft Gold Dynamics CRM ISV delivering best-in-class Dynamics 365 solutions as well as cost-effective and high-quality programming services. We thank Maplytics by Inogic for sponsoring CRM Audio, the Microsoft Business Applications podcast. Welcome back to CRM Audio. We had so much about the new release notes for April 19, we had to split it into two episodes. So this is part two, and in the process, we lost a hobbit.
Well, that's because we come into the most interesting part, like technical part. I think he just fell asleep when we started talking about it.
No, actually, Sean's wife won the Teacher of the Year award where he lives, and so she had an award ceremony. So he was being a good husband and going to the award ceremony with her.
So it's a Teacher of the Year award in the region wherever you live.
Right. All right. So where cool. I think we left off, we had just talked about Russians and vodka and features in F&O that will help them manage that.
Oh, that's right.
So,
the taxation reports for sales of alcohol.
Yeah,
that's right. Okay, we're done with that.
So let's talk about AI. Let's talk about AI for sales. So AI for sales is going to more regions than it currently is available in. And for the Relationship Assistant, you'll be able to use Relationship Assistant from Teams. That's interesting. You'll be able to create and configure suggest actions using Relationship Assistant, so a little bit more configurability than we have right now.
So what's your understanding?
I was saying we've had the ability to create new Relationship Assistant cards for about a month now. I've talked about it, but I haven't seen anybody do that. Have you dabbled in that or known anybody that has played with it yet?
No, it's on my to-do list. I'm trying to get my head around how to explain to people the difference between the Relationship Assistant and AI for sales, for example, because Relationship Assistant is part of Dynamics 365 for sales or for customer service. I think of any plan, and people ask, oh, why would I need AI for sales if I already have? Isn't it Relationship Assistant AI? So how do you explain?
Well, I mean, I think I just did a presentation about this yesterday, and since it's grouped in the AI for sales area and settings, I'm including the embedded intelligence features like the Relationship Assistant and auto capture as AI for sales, but that they really can apply to any user. So I think it's kind of weird that they are grouped in there, but they're related because when you get into like the AI, the Relationship Assistant, some of the advanced cards do things like show things based on emails in your inbox, which is kind of the same technology that the Relationship Analytics uses with the Office Graph. So they are related, And so I just kind of explain. I kind of go through them and say, these are the three original ones: the auto capture, the email engagement, and the Relationship Assistant, what used to be called Relationship Insights. And then we have these other features under the AI for Sales family. They work together nicely.
Well, yeah, AI for sales is more looking into as I understand, looking into your sales data, not so much communications as sales data, and go sell something. Oh, anyway,
right.
We'll see.
Right.
Do you need a volume of data for AI to kick in? Have you?
That's an interesting question. We were talking about that because some of the features you need a certain amount of data. So, like the predictive lead analysis, you need 100 closed or qualified leads and 100 disqualified leads. And predictive opportunity analysis, you need to have, or predictive opportunity scoring, you need to have 400 closed won opportunities and 600 closed lost opportunities. So apparently it's for losers because you need more losses than wins.
No, it means you just have a room to grow. If you kind of do 90% of all opportunities won, AI kind of looks at it and says, "You're doing great. Continue." Nothing to say.
Right. Like, so, a lot of things in the section about the sales insights or the sales AI are features that aren't really out yet. So it's like enhancements on what was in the preview, but like the analytics part of the AI for sales or AI for sales managers is something that isn't really out yet. So the whole thing will basically be new, but they have some improved KPIs and improved forecasting capabilities.
I thought
one
the
thing
whole
that jumps
idea
out
of release notes is for the things that are not out yet.
Right, but you can't really have. It says improved search experience. How can you improve the search experience of something that isn't really out yet?
Wow. Manual search is always there.
Right. So here's the one thing that I think has a lot of really interest to me, and that's the call intelligence. So the call intelligence is text analysis of telephone recordings.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
The idea is pointing it to your repository of sales calls and doing text analysis and sentiment analysis, because you see all these call centers that record calls for coaching purposes, but unless somebody actually physically listens to them, they're very little use. My question is, why is that a sales feature? Because that seems more of a customer service application to me, unless you have inside salespeople.
I don't know, but if you want to have fun, next time when you're on call to support people and they say, "This call may be monitored and recorded for blah, 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 blah," and you can say, "I would like this call not to be recorded." And so far, statistics are that it completely blocks them, because nobody knows how to disable the recording. Because you can object, right? It's your private data, so you can object to that. And if you object, they're obliged to switch it off. But because nobody asking, they don't know how to. Well, most of them don't. So it's kind of interesting. So if you want some salesperson get off your back, you say, I would like this call not to be recorded. Could you please switch it off? Of course they can lie.
Okay, so on the relationship assistant, what we have is create and configure suggested actions. So it sounds like they're making it more of an admin thing to create suggested actions directly from Relationship Assistant. Right now, if you want to create your custom cards, they're more of a developer. They're an actual code exercise, where this is more conditions from within Relationship Assistant. The accessing Relationship Assistant from Microsoft Teams, that's interesting to me, because it means it's the first time that these notifications are going outside of the Dynamics box. And so if you connect your team to a Dynamics record, you'll be able to see the Relationship Assistant cards from within your teams.
That's nice. Because I've been using I've been forced to use Teams. My Skype has been switched over to Teams. So now whenever I start Skype, it says, hello, you've been switched to Teams. Bloom. And I think I mentioned that it's the most annoying part is that it doesn't give me ability to actually switch my Skype ID to something else. It just and it switches to Teams. Anyway, I got stuck on Teams. But it kind of grows on me. I found that team calling experience and the whole sharing experience, at first it was a bit confusing, probably because used to Skype. But after a few calls, I found that to be really nice, actually.
Right. Yeah, I learned
Like
one thing,
screen
important
sharing
thing,
and
which
stuff like
is
this. Yeah.
I learned one important thing, which is in Teams, you know how you can change your organizations. So, like, we're members of some Microsoft teams, and then I have my Hitachi teams. Don't switch that in the middle of a phone call, or your phone call will end.
I know, and what's more, you don't get any notifications from other channels. You show up as not present.
Yeah. So that's
channels.
something. Don't be multitasking and trying to do other things while you're on your call. Focus on the call you're on.
When people kind of ask, "Oh, what's the difference between Teams and Slack?" and Slack obviously is more mature, I now explain it this way. On both platforms, you can start typing colon and then the name of the emoji, like a shortcut. Like you type :joy, and it will be like laughing with tears emoji. So if you want to do a thumbs up, so you'd put colon and then start typing thumb. And on Skype, the first icon is thumbs up, and on Teams, the first suggestion is thumbs down. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I know that with Skype for Business, sometimes I would have people typing messages and accidentally do the keystrokes for the emoji. Like, I don't know what the one to get the emoji vomiting is, but sometimes somebody types something and their text just happened to have that combination. I thought they were upset with me, but it was just an accident from what they were typing. So, what's your take on the analytics parts of AI for sales and AI for customer service? Because it's really two parts to the product. One is the embedded AI features that we talked about, like the predictive scoring. The other side of it is basically a analytics data lake optimized for either sales or customer service scoring. And that's the part that I don't think is really even out yet. And it's the kind of thing that there's some confusion there. I think it's generally a good thing because it gives people an actual usable environment, not like just a simple content pack. But it's actually, we've been looking at it. It's got some really good stuff in it.
Which brings interesting questions. Since all your data being pumped to Azure Data Lake, how does it work with the regions?
Well, interesting, I guess. For one thing, I know they've added the GDPR opt-out field to the contacts and users. And if you set that to yes, it means that things like auto capture and relationship analytics won't use it. I don't know if that excludes it from the data lake too, but they're building some of those things in to
and then
exclude certain
GDPR
people.
News, Google has been fined $57 million.
On the customer service side, the one that jumps out at me, there's a lot of enhancements. Again, these are enhancements or improvements to something that's not even really out yet. General availability of AI for customer service is July and August of 2019. But one of the ones, bring your data from Salesforce, Zendesk, ServiceNow, or other data sources. So that to me sounds like a, if you can't beat them, join them approach. And kind of like Power Apps is kind of like the Trojan horse for business applications where, hey, you can connect to your Salesforce. Same thing with these analytics environments. Let's look at the leading customer service systems like ServiceNow, Salesforce, Zendesk, and let's give them an easy way to work with that data too.
Yeah, well, I suppose, if you can't beat them,
But I could think of at least half a dozen customers that have one customer service group that has Zendesk or ServiceNow. ServiceNow is really popular in certain industries.
When you say certain industries, it sounds like you're talking about porn industry or something like that.
No, like support industries and stuff. I don't know I do not know the percentage of ServiceNow adoption in the porn industry.
Well, we should task Sean to find out for the next episode.
All right. So one thing I think after we released the first episode, Juka made the comment that when you read the release notes, you really need to start with the Power Apps part, because that's where all the core platform enhancements are.
Well, that kind of makes sense, and I totally agree with him that you need to start reading notes upside down. You start with the platform and platform enhancements, and then go on to generic one. I don't know. On the other hand, it's kind of, I'm thinking if you have a new car being released, you don't start with talking about the engine enhancements, for example. You talk about, look how pretty it is. Look how fast it can go. You talk about functionality first, and then you talk about kind of what's under the hood. So there is some point, but I think it's just alphabetical. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, crazy me. I should have known to start at page 213.
Yeah.
We missed that AI for market analysis will be available for Norway. So CRM Viking can be happy about that.
We're skipping the whole mixed reality thing, or did we talk about?
No, we're not skipping mixed reality. It's just I don't know anything about mixed reality. We talked a little bit about mixed reality on our last episode. What Sean was excited about about the Hololens and the multiple people and field service stuff and being able to annotate. Yeah.
Well, my feeling about mixed reality are mixed. So. Layout is good.
Yeah.
Layout is good. I had a relative who used to work in that space, and I remember what kind of pain they used to go through, like cut out models to scale and things like that. So ability to model spaces in kind of real time and do the adjustments and all in the space of minutes. That's awesome. It's cool.
Yeah, and I know that there's an event coming up in the next month, I think, where they're going to be releasing or announcing the next generation of HoloLenses. And I gotta wonder, are they going to have something that's sub $5,000 that would make this more of a something that average businesses can start using?
49999.
All right, and so I think we're up to the Power Apps part, and if you're following along at home, that's
I can talk.
We talked about portals. CDS portals. We talked about
more about
the three main.
Yeah,
okay, what else do you want to say about portals?
Nothing. Let's move on. Let's talk about Power Apps, the engine.
So we already alluded to some parts of this, such as the new form and view designers that are in preview now. Those will be generally available. More responsive layout is coming, which I guess right now you're kind of choosing between: is this a tablet app or is this a phone app? Now it's going to be a little bit more responsive.
Oh, here we go. App licensing requirements presented to makers while building apps. Imagine you dragging your mouse and suddenly it says, warning, danger.
Yeah.
Licensing switch.
You'll need a customer service. Yeah. No, I think that's good. I mean, I think Microsoft can't, in my opinion, with a straight face accuse people of violating licenses if they don't make it obvious when you're going to step over that line, especially if you're going to have one big platform.
In all seriousness, I submitted a talk proposal for the Business Application Summit. I don't know if it's going to be accepted, but I'm going to sneak it in somewhere anyway. I've got new talk that is called License-Driven Development.
Okay.
So that's it. Like Power Apps and license-driven development. But the whole idea is that, roll back like 7 years. And, okay, you had CRM and you had 300 users and you had to have CALs for every user. that was the end of the story, right? So you may bend it a bit with enterprise agreement, but basically you still need 300 CALs to cover users. These days, though, when you start thinking about it, right, and start introducing licensing from very first day, you may find out that, hold on, I don't need 300 full, plan users. I don't need 300 sales. Maybe I need 100 sales users. I need 75, P2 licenses, and I need 150 team licenses. And why? Because I can kind of position my applications. I can partition my app, monolithic app, into smaller apps that do a particular task, and give those apps to people, and suddenly I find out that license requirements are lower than they would have been years ago. So yes, licensing is no longer kind of afterthought.
Yeah, and what I'm finding though is one of the problems is a lot of the Microsoft licensing folks and salespeople still have the segmented price books, so that the people who focus on Dynamics 365 aren't really aware of something that might be in the Power Apps price book, and vice versa. So I think there's still some things to happen there to kind of bring down some of those walls.
And I think from time to time they join marketing and together they smoke something. So because some things that just cannot be explained.
Okay, so we also have we'll have regular reports about end user app usage, I guess by app, which is nice. You want to know how are people actually using this app. Good, useful to know which apps you should kill and which you should enhance.
I've got mixed feelings about reporting. Hey, AI is coming, and hey, reports are in your inbox. How can you even compare the two? It's kind of a bit of a soup in terms of importance and implications of having something like app usage reports in your inbox. Big deal. I can go to the dashboard.
Yeah, but the dashboard tells you by overall application, like which entities are being used, but it doesn't tell you which model-driven apps are being used. So if I can see if I go in the new world of micro apps and I create a bunch of different power apps or model-driven apps, I want to know, which ones are being used, which ones aren't.
No. What I'm saying is that if report is in your inbox, I'm sure you can get it online as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
In your inbox is kind of irrelevant part. I'm more excited about
the next part.
Yeah, go on.
The next part, is interesting, but one thing in it jumped out at me, which is improved inline help for makers and admins, talking about how step-by-step guidance in Flow and the Power Platform, in the Power App Studio and the Power Platform. One thing that jumps out though, the second dot, enable a mailbox to use server-side sync in the Power Platform Admin Center. You can't do that today. You still have to go into the settings area. So that tells me more of the settings stuff is coming into the admin center.
To me, it's more hinting that mailbox sync is currently confusion if it requires Dynamics 365, and I would say that it doesn't look like it's going to, so CDS will be fine. You'll get the mailbox sync with CDS for apps, so you don't have to have any of the Dynamics 365 apps installed.
So we got the new form designer will be generally available. We'll have better support for many-to-many relationships in Canvas apps, which really right now there's not really any support for many-to-many relationships.
There is a few Flick preview. Experimental features flag.
Yeah, that's a preview feature.
Yeah. That's what's coming. It's basically ability.
Power Apps control framework.
I think I've heard that before.
So is the promise of the PCF is that you can build controls that can be used in either Canvas apps or model-driven apps, or is it still just model-driven apps?
No, I think it's they're trying to cover both, and I suspect that the way they're gonna sneak it in is that you can now embed Power Apps Canvas into model-driven forms. So maybe that's how they're gonna sneak it in, using the same kind of model. I don't know, but yeah. Boy,
okay, so let's say you're a developer. Let's say you're a developer and you want to build a PCF control library to sell to other people. Is that possible?
To build, yes. To sell, meh.
Because I'm thinking back of there still may be, but there was a quite healthy ecosystem of custom controls, say for SSRS reports, where you could license them and use them. This could be a nice thing. There's just not really a mechanism. I guess you could create a solution that you sell that then people can leverage those same controls or something.
What do you mean? The controls are distributed via solution. That's not the problem. The problem is that your IP has no means of protection.
Right. So they could then build a zillion copies and give them to everybody.
Or sell, as people used to do. With other control frameworks. Yeah, so it's copyable. And I don't believe right now to publish anything on app source, your script cannot be, it can be minified, but it cannot be obfuscated.
Right.
So and because it's JavaScript, TypeScript, JavaScript, then you're definitely not protected in any shape or form.
So I like the next thing, the composing and reusing rich components and controls. So this is basically building Canvas app components like controls and expressions. So think about common parts of a Power App and being able to reuse them either multiple times in the same app or across different apps. That to me sounds like it's going to save us a lot of time. Yeah, because right now you're basically building everything from the ground up, where if I could create my template, if you will, of controls and components that I can reuse, that's really going to...
And still charge customer for it as if you were created from scratch, right?
Right. Nice. Exactly. Well, that additional 5 hours was spent on research and development and mapping and a lot of important things.
Okay.
Anything else jump out at you here?
You already mentioned responsive layout, because that's currently, if you embed Canvas, it's got phone layout and you're stuck with it, and basically it just doesn't look good. So not at all. So responsive layout, definitely kind of a thing. Control framework, better many. Were you reading upside down? I'm just going.
Easier to log into the mobile app. That's important.
Sorry?
Easier to log into the mobile app. You no longer have to type your URL in with your thumbs. You can just put your email address in and then choose your environment.
Here you go. Leverage views from CDS in apps and Canvas apps. So before you know, we're going to be embedding model-driven into Canvas.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because again, it's those kind of things that when coming from a CRM background, when you start laying out the gallery with a view from CDS, you realize this is so much easier when we have this just there. But there's times where it's nice to be able to customize the layout and stuff. But a lot of times, just sticking a view in would be nice.
Yeah. Set and forget, and and view contains only enough information, so portals use it. So why not here? Yeah, certainly. Sign in more easily, better platform for administrators, unified interface for everyone.
Let's talk about that one, because I thought we already had unified interface for everyone, because you log in to a new environment, you get the unified interface by default. You have to work to get that. Does that mean, that doesn't mean classic UI is going away, or does it?
Not that I know of, not yet.
but it mentions specifically things like you'll default by default you'll go to the app selector. Links will go to unified interface, so that users on the unified interface, because I believe right now if you have a link, it will still open the default app.
That is correct. You can open an app, but I don't think there is a documented syntax for opening a specific form, for example.
Yep. And it talks about some things that are enhancements to the unified interface, improve sitemap, leverage enhanced filtering on grids, save filters to newer personal views, expand the subgrids to full view. A lot of the final pieces that I think we're missing, so we'll probably be able to say we're finally at parity with unified interface and classic UI.
I'm looking at enhanced platform capabilities. Offline, that's a big one, right? Is that the offline that was taken offline?
Yeah, it says access data from CDS and apps offline in model-driven apps. So somebody was asking, is that offline in Canvas apps, offline in model-driven? So that would be, in effect, the Dynamics 365 apps. So I guess the question is, when it says CDS for apps offline in model-driven apps, is that still going to be, you have to use the Dynamics 365 mobile app? Are we going to have a unified app launcher that can do Canvas and model-driven? That's the question I have.
I don't have any answers for that.
I think it's probably still going to be the D365 app you're going to be using, which that's got to be a little bit confusing to people using that aren't from a Dynamics background but are building Power Apps to come out. Okay, I need the Dynamics app.
Okay, what else? Security groups, seamless image, improve solutions support. Yeah. It's kind of all expected. Tooling update. Here we go. It's great that they are considering fixing tools for Visual Studio 2017. If it wasn't for the fact that Visual Studio 2019, I think, is gonna hit the shelves soon-ish.
Yeah. So, I'm interested in...
Anyway, so we'll see where tooling is going. And there must be some valid reasons why they didn't open source it, because by now it would be a jam.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they did.
I'm interested in the Teams as a first-class distribution channel preview. And basically what it's talking about is a Teams... IT admins can publish business applications, platforms, apps to the Teams app catalog for broad app distribution, combined with embedding apps inside of Teams, which we kind of have the ability. We have the ability to embed records within Teams, but does this? I'm worried Teams is going to be the new Outlook, which Outlook was the application that they tried to cram everything in the kitchen sink into, and it became just a slow, bogged down mess. And Teams seems to have some kind of potential to go that way too, because if you get so many connectors in there and all that, it can already get a little bit slow.
Okay, let me put a positive spin on it for a change, right? Does it mean that Teams are going to support? Teams already support guest users. Why even was going to ask?
Yeah, but if you're publishing an app, you would assume that's still internal users though, because that app is on business applications platforms such as a Power App or D365. So I like it. I think it's got a lot of potential, and you really can make Teams your single place you do all your work from. I've already got my team. I have the team of Joel that has nothing else. Nobody else is a member of it, and I've got the Power BI dashboards I use. I've got the SharePoint libraries I frequently use. My most commonly accessed dynamic records. It's just that one place to go, and it's nice. So I'd like to see some applications though of examples of how you would do this, because I get how, if you're in a channel and you've got an app in there that's relevant to what you're doing in that group, that makes sense. I just need to see some examples of where that fit in. It seems like it seems like a good idea. I just need to see it in action.
Well, I guess we'll wait and see. Which particular months it's scheduled for?
It's going to be a preview, so it's probably not going to come out. The final GA is probably going to be
train. Okay.
Right. So I think with Flow, we're going to see improved intelligence there and admin capabilities. The Microsoft Learn integration sounds kind of interesting. So we built Microsoft Learn because the skills required to advance your career and earn your spot at the top do not come easily. We built teams because being at the top isn't easy. So they're launching more tutorials for Microsoft Flow, and Microsoft Flow learning paths now include interactive environments that provide free access while you're working through the tutorial. So more training stuff on Flow.
Okay.
Extracting data from HTML and PDF. So what's an example where I would have HTML? Is it I have a PDF document, I have a flow that I want to extract the text from PDF documents for some purpose, HTML from tables. I'm thinking if I'm building a flow, this is something I want to do on an ongoing basis. I can see the email thing, so I want to extract the data from emails that come into an inbox and do something with them. What's something where I would want to, maybe I've got an HTML form and I want to get the data from it. What do you think?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Extract specific entities from HTML text documents. For example, extract ID and status from a service instance. Yeah, so that's like where you got HTML
interesting that
form.
I just have a project. We've been working with the customer on a particular project. Part of that project is that their suppliers provide documents, PDF documents, that contain some specific financial data, and we need to extract this data. And it's never-ending war, because when we create parsing facilities, the next thing you know, they reformat the text, the vendors reformat the text and reformat data, and still maintaining the same figures, but just in a different layout. And what we've been discussing, and I wonder if Flow can assist with that, if they put any brains into that parsing abilities. But what we've been discussing is ability, for example, you parsed 20,000 documents before and extracted financial data. These are the documents, these are financial data, extracted correctly. So go and learn. And I wonder, if AI can learn subtle differences, so it can be resilient to things like, say, rephrasing, restating something, but still maintaining the figure inside, so it can find the number and extract that number. So I wonder if Flow might get kind of these capabilities. I suspect in the first releases.
Well, I remember a couple months ago, they made the announcement that the current HTML components were being moved to premium connectors, and a bunch of the non-dynamics or non-business applications MVPs got all up in arms because they use that for integration with their websites and that sort of thing. And they said, cool off a little bit. There's new stuff coming. I think this is the new stuff coming that will be able to take the place of a lot of that.
What happened is what's been moved to premium connectors is that HTTP connectors. Because why people start jumping up and down is that everyone been using the HTTP connectors to talk to pods that are not ready to be talked to yet. For example, Office Graph or child flow. You can only do these things with HTTP connectors right now. And though technically they don't, you kind of, all you're trying to do is to play within the spirit of flow, like P1 license, right? So, or F1, whatever the license is. So flow is on the lowest license. It's an Office automation tool. As Office automation tool, it needs some capabilities like talk to Microsoft Office Graph or call child flow. I would use these two examples. And there are no facilities to do that apart from HTTP. So if HTTP becomes premium, you kind of automatically breaking lowest license and need to go up just to automate your Office stuff. So that what upset people. I think, people are easily upset these days. Anyway.
All right. So the most significant thing for people from a Dynamics perspective, I think, has got to be the calling actions from flows, because that's one of the things that has been that was one of the final things that was separating flow from workflow. And to say we're at parity, you've got to have that ability, and so that's good. I think the only thing on my list of things really missing to be at parity is email templates right now. But other than that, just about anything for an asynchronous workflow, flow is pretty much at parity.
There are some things.
Real time, of course.
Yeah. No, real time aside.
But there's a couple of, if you look at page 255, there are a few other things being added to automated flow parity with classic CDS for apps workflow. Calling other flows, so you get the child ones. Support for multiple trigger types. Flows now can be both automated by and instant at the same time, so you don't have to create one that's on demand and one that's triggered. You can run as, so they can, triggered by CS apps, can run with either an account defined by the owner or identifies the user who performed the action, and providing filters to triggers. You can control exactly what records trigger your automated flows. By including triggers in the middle of flows, you can leverage them as wait conditions.
That's how they're gonna solve wait. Okay.
So there's that. There's also automated flows support batch operations in CDS for apps. If you want to perform many different actions in CDS at once, such as inserting 100 different records at one time, normally Flow make many different calls CDS for apps. Now you can add a batch scope to your flows that will group all these different operations to a single call and dramatically improve performance.
Execute multiple. Great.
Yeah. Automated Flow supports change sets in CDS for app. So change sets are an important part of working with CDS for apps because all operations are considered atomic. Is that true? They're considered atomic? You're going to blow up your CDS, which means that if any one of the operations fails, any completed operation will be rolled back. This is referred to as a transaction. We now have the ability to add a native understanding of change set scopes to the Flow Designer so that users can replace classic common data service workflows that previously needed atomic transactions. Thoughts?
None. Wait and see. You've been
closer to Chernobyl than I have, so I thought you might have some thoughts on atomic transactions.
We'll see. It's all kind of, it's going in the right direction. So to replace workflows for asynchronous operations. So that's kind of nice to see things happening. In the other news, kind of went unnoticed that we've got API release to manage flows, so you can now create and edit flows via API, which you were not able before.
Okay,
that's already out there, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, the last part. Oh, CDM and data. Let's take a look at that because I know nothing about business intelligence.
What, you're skipping over the big news that Power BI Desktop can now connect to LinkedIn Sales Navigator? Okay, so if you were going to connect your Power BI to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, what type of data would you think you'd be reporting on?
How many connections you have?
No, it's reporting on how LinkedIn Sales Navigator is being used.
Oh. I don't know, number of logins per second. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I think most people are going to think, great, I can build Power BI reports that show me my whole LinkedIn network. But no, it's just showing you how Sales Navigator is being used. Which I guess could answer the question, are we getting our money's worth out of Sales Navigator? Because if nobody's using it, why pay for it?
I don't pay. So,
all right. So common data model and data integration. So there's some enhancements to the CDS and CDM. I mean, it's really becoming clear that when they talk about the what's the thing they announced at Ignite with Adobe and SAP? Basically, the open data model, that really is the common data model. And so
I don't necessarily think so, but yeah, it's kind of.
Well, it's not the common data service, but it's tied into the common data model.
Okay, no, not to this particular instance of common data model, because common data models refers to a set specific entities, whilst open data model will be. The difference is that actually there is no difference. It's just collaboration on.
Yeah, so you see like SAP HANA in here, for example. That's coming.
I have no idea what SAP HANA is, but sounds important because all letters are capital. And
right.
Black and white variables. It's a SAP HANA and BW variables. Black and white variables.
Right. So the things again that we talked about this a little bit, but the things that I think are most significant to people listening to this podcast are get your Dynamics 365 finance and operations data in CDS and keep it up to date. With a few clicks, I don't know how many clicks, that's 1, 20, or 100, customers will be able to seamlessly link to CDS for apps from D365 for F&O. Changes in D365 for F&O will propagate to CDS and vice versa without much configuration. So we basically have near real-time bidirectional sync, making integration between the two. That also opens the door for building Power Apps and Flow on top of CDS, on top of F&O data.
Okay, I'm looking through.
And I think that'll also have a lot of repercussions for things like inventory and field service and project service.
Toolkits, Power Query. Power Query becoming a real player, right? In space. It's really nice. Like I looked into brilliant data input utility in Dynamics, and it's currently, guess what, when you upload zip file, it's currently broken, so it doesn't work. But instead of that, you go to input facilities in Power Apps, and so I have to say, and they bolted on Power Query in there, so you can do ETLs, you can do all sort of things in there, drop rows, skip rows based on conditions, rename, refactor, group by, and things like that. And it's like pivot stuff and all in line before your data even get anywhere. So that's kind of it's really nice. Power Query really. I have to say that if you're dealing with data, my recommendation would be, and if you're dealing with data and you don't know or don't use Power Query, my recommendation would be start learning because it will become important. And it's a cool tool. It certainly beats Excel ETL capabilities.
Right. So, a couple other things that jump out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here. The integration templates. Currently the Salesforce integration template with CDS is in kind of a preview thing, but yet continues to add those. So there again, just like we were talking about with the AI for customer service, you can really, if you've got a customer that has Salesforce and has an entrenched Salesforce group that you can't dislodge and move to Dynamics, you now have all these kind of Trojan horses that you can use between bringing data into the CDS, building Power Apps on top of it, using Flow, where a Dynamics or a Microsoft partner can still sell them stuff and build things and get their foot in the door. What do you think about the open source connector for connectors for Power Apps and Flow? So developers can now use GitHub to develop and deploy connectors for Power Apps and Flow. So is that going to help the ecosystem of connectors increase, you think?
Well, I would like to see Microsoft, leading by example and open sourcing their connectors. So, generally, what I would like to see, and that's back to our conversation about PCF and kind of trying to monetize your creation. Think about custom connector that you created. It could be a super duper cool custom connector connecting to some very complex one, right? And you want to be able to monetize that. So currently there is no model to monetize the connector. So open source, and I don't know what it's going to help. I mean, certainly there will be a lot of crappy connectors sitting in open source, but hopefully it will mature. And open sourcing is great. It sort of follows the model that's been, in use in other industries and in other kind of parts or service parts. Think, for example, WordPress. There's an open source plugin directory, right? And what people have been doing, and it's a great distribution channel, and what people have been doing is that you get your plugin in there, you get free version, and then you've got kind of freemium version, and it works quite well. So it
sounds like the open source development of connectors goes hand in hand with the improved certification process, because I remember our conversation with Marwan Hade, the program manager for Flow, talking about the challenges of developing connectors and how only first-party connectors were allowed, and kind of the manual process. I think we still have to go through the first party is required, but it's making it less manual. The manual handoff is no longer needed.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, the whole first party business needs to be resolved, let's put it this way. I totally understand where Microsoft is coming from, but the situation needs to be resolved. I want to build a better MailChimp connector, for example. Currently I don't have this possibility. Well, I can for private purposes, but I can't build a product that would replace MailChimp connector. So here's an interesting exercise. Do a search of the release notes for the words on-premises or on-premise, and interesting thing you find enhancements for on-premise in F&O, Business Central, Power BI, even CDS with the on-premises gateway, basically every place except for customer engagement. So all the on-premises users who are saying, okay, I got V9, but I want V9.1, there's no word if and when you'll get the next update for on-premises. So that's interesting. There you go.
So in the last word in the release notes is Power BI Desktop.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hold on. I thought on mine it says Gateway.
Well, Okay, well, I'm saying the very last words in it.
The very last words are Power BI Desktop. Yes, you're quite right.
All right, so all in all, I guess the themes I'm seeing are parity between between unified interface and classic. Really, you want to be using a unified interface now. I'm seeing better design and administration experience for Flow and Power Apps. We didn't mention the ability to actually create flows from within Power Apps, which is a great thing because right now it's kind of a split personality. You have to jump over to Flow and then call that flow from doing that. So improvements, reusability of components, custom Power Apps control framework, all this stuff are these other these newer members of the business application family growing up, becoming more in parity with what we have in Dynamics, and some nice things they're going like offline that are going to improve the Dynamics user experience.
The one thing people need to remember that this is not whilst they called release notes, right? It's not like there is April release where all these features going to be available. I would say that the way Microsoft has been releasing release notes, it's more of a roadmap. What are we doing for from April till September?
Right. Yeah, it is. And the nice thing is they're putting in there when you should expect it and what's a preview. So temper your excitement with, some things are going to be preview, some things aren't going to be out till August, September.
No. You're quite right. So I don't want people. What I think might happen is people jump in, read something exciting, mentally block the fact that it's actually September, right? And go out and yell, "Oh, look what's coming in April." No, you have to look at when it's coming. It's a pipeline, and it's a pipeline for the 6 months, starting April. So
right. But you could also use it to kind of shape your roadmap of when you do things, because if I know that child flows are coming and I've got some complex workflows I want to redo this year, I'm going to hold off and do them once I have the child flow capability.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, George, this has been fun.
Hold on before we say goodbye.
Of course, you get the last word.
Yeah, remember we used to have like tool of the week or tool of the whatever period we use, a fortnight, whatever. Whatever cadency we have. And then we run out of tools. Basically. I've got one.
Are you saying you have a tool, okay?
Yeah, it's like it's something that I was impressed, and it's not an easy task to impress me, but I was really smitten by this tool. Do you use Markdown?
I've used it a little bit. I've played with it for like document editing and stuff. I haven't done that much with Markdown.
Yeah, and it's because for document editing, the nice thing about it, it's kind of plain text. Not nice thing about it, it's plain text, and it's kind of you've got preview and.
If you using Markdown for document editing for casual use, if you're not a magazine editor or something, seems to me like the guy who carves his own pencils from wood himself. He likes to do it the hard way.
Now go ahead and take a look at the product called TypeAura.
TypeAura? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a website or a application? What is it?
TypeAura.io is the website, but they have, and it's for now it's free, but it's one of those tools. When I tried it, I say I would pay for it, like in a heartbeat, because it changes the way you edit Markdown. Seriously. There is no separation between editing and preview. It's smooth. It's just give it a shot. If you edit in Markdown, and you would use Markdown for documenting things on the GitHub and stuff like this. So this tool is seriously, hands down, the best Markdown editor I ever tried. So here you go. Tool of the day, week, fortnight.
I will give it
tool of April to September.
So see, listening to CRM audio, you got all the insights about the second half of the release notes and a recommendation for TypeAura. Can't beat that with other podcasts. All right.
On that note.
Well, good day, George.
Okay. Have fun.
Bye. This has been CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast. Send us your feedback at voice@crm.audio. Check out our other shows at crm.audio or subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and any place else podcasts are offered. This podcast is a production of Dynamics Podcast LLC.